Dear students, today I am going to discuss the second part in the unit of a basic introduction to thermodynamics. Here I am going to discuss first law of thermodynamics, second law of thermodynamics, and third law of thermodynamics. Third law only an introduction, whereas first law we have to concentrate more, first and second law. I am Dr. R. Gunasekaran, Professor of Chemistry, is taking class for you. Laws of thermodynamics. What are the laws of thermodynamics available in our syllabus? One is zeroth law of thermodynamics. This is very simple, only the definition should be sufficient, not explanation, derivation, interior explanation is not required. So we have to concentrate first law of thermodynamics and second law of thermodynamics only we have to concentrate. Third law of thermodynamics, just a definition and outline, that's all. So let me go inside. First, let me go for zeroth law of thermodynamics. What is zeroth law of thermodynamics? If A and B are in thermal equilibrium with C, kindly follow, there is A, it is in equilibrium with B. Kindly follow. If A and B are thermal equilibrium with C, so A is in equilibrium with C, B is in equilibrium with C. Then zeroth law says that A and B also in thermal equilibrium. Very, very simple. Suppose I have a sodium metal. Kindly follow. Sodium metal. I have another metal, potassium metal. In between, I can place any other, the copper metal. What happened? Sodium in contact with the copper, potassium in contact with the copper, so sodium and potassium also will be in thermal equilibrium. Thermal means temperature. It's very, very simple. Here I am saying A and B and C, I am giving a specific example. So that is the zeroth law. So no other explanation is required for this one. So let me go for first law of thermodynamics, which is most important. We have to derive the first law, discuss the merits and demerits, and also thermochemistry under this is the most important. First statement of first law of thermodynamics. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but can only be redistributed. This we have discussed in the first part itself. So instead of energy, I can even change the statement like this. Mass can neither be created nor destroyed, but can only be redistributed. For a simple example, you take a piece of paper. Now what I want to burn this paper with the help of a fire. When I suppose before that I will take weight of this one, weight of this paper. So what will happen now? After burning, so I will get some ash. Ash will be there. Some gases will escape into the atmosphere. Some gas will go into the atmosphere. But I cannot collect that one. Suppose if I have a capacity to have the gas also, the mass and the ash mass, then that will be equal to the weight of the paper. But actually this paper mass cannot be created, destroyed. Cannot be destroyed. How? Because I am converting in the form of ash, I am converting in the form of gas. Some other matter I am converting. That's all. The same way, instead of mass, I can say energy also. Heat energy can be converted into, there are so many forms of energy. Thermal energy. So, energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but can only be redistributed. Okay, that is the first law. The second statement of first law, the total energy of an isolated system is constant. Suppose this is an isolated system. What is meant by isolated system? It's a closed system and it is thermally insulated. Thermally insulated means from this isolated system, so neither mass nor energy will be transferred to the surroundings and vice versa. So for such a isolated system, the total energy of an isolated system is constant. It is very clear. Because no energy loss, no mass loss, so it is always constant. This is also a first law of thermodynamics statement. Then, third statement of first law, the total sum of mass and energy in the universe is constant. This is very, very important. The total sum of mass and the energy in the universe is constant. Because from the universe, where will go mass, where will go energy? It will be within that. So it is always constant. The next one, fourth one, statement, heat and work are equivalent ways of changing a system internal energy. We have discussed already. Suppose if you want to change a system from one state to another state, or change the internal system's internal energy, either by absorption of heat or release of heat, or by work done or work is done, we can change the system's internal energy. That is the fifth statement. Whenever different forms of energies are converted into heat, all other forms of energies are converted into heat, or vice versa, there is a fixed ratio between the quantities of energy and the heat thus converted. Between the quantity of energy and heat thus converted. So under this only we have to derive the equation. Okay. So let me come for the mathematical form. First law of thermodynamics. So I will derive mathematically what is first law of thermodynamics, and also I will discuss what the limitations it is faced by, drawbacks faced by the first law of thermodynamics. And under this first law, the most important law we have to study Hess law of constant heat summation, or separately this was discussed under the PhD level thermochemistry. Hess law of constant. This Hess law I have already discussed under the first unit itself. Okay, let me go first one, mathematical form. Kindly follow. All books will give only one equation, only this form they will give. Kindly follow. So what I am taking now, I am taking by two conditions to derive the first law of thermodynamics. One is absorption is taking place. So during absorption, what will happen? Suppose there is a system. There is a system. In the system, absorption taking place. Heat is absorbed. Absorption taking place. So what will happen to that? So initial internal energy U1. Kindly follow. So heat is absorbed, so it is plus Q. The system is absorbing plus Q. And after absorbing heat, what will happen now? System will do some work. System will do some work mean according to the convention of work done by the system minus. Kindly follow. So this is the corresponding the internal energy of the final. So after absorption of energy, the system will change its internal energy to U2, from U1 to U2. This is the basic equation. Kindly follow here. U1, the internal energy. I have already discussed on the internal energy. It's simple components of what are the internal energy included. So heat absorbed plus work done by the system minus, that is equal to U2. So what we are interested, final energy minus initial energy, that is U2 minus U1, that is equal to delta U, change in internal energy. The change in internal energy nothing but Q minus W. Kindly follow, my dear students. This is the first law. So change in internal energy equal to total heat absorbed minus the work done by the system. This is the first law. But I can give other three forms. Kindly follow. This will not be discussed in any book. This is just for your understanding. Those who are interested, you can just listen. The second, the same absorption. Now what we will do? We will assume now U is the internal energy. U1 is the internal energy. Heat is absorbed. But now, instead of work done by the system, work is done on the system. In that case, W will be positive. So now what will be the total energy? U2. So let me equate now. U2 minus U1 equal to delta U equal to Q plus W. This is also first law. So the convention you must follow, here work done by the system, here work is done on the system. That is the only difference. Kindly follow. So the other two forms I can give the other way. During absorption I have two equations. During release of energy I can give two equations. What way? Suppose the system, initial system having internal energy U1. When heat is released means minus Q. Work is done by the system in order to release the energy minus W. That is equal to final internal energy. So total delta U equal to U2 minus U1. That is delta U. So minus Q minus W is the third form of first law. Okay. And the fourth one. During release of energy, instead of work done by the system, work is done on the system if it is taking place. What will be the equation? U1 initial energy, the energy released minus Q, work is done on the system plus W, that is equal to U2. Therefore, U2 minus U1 equal to delta U, that is equal to minus Q plus W. This is the equation 4. Please follow, my dear students. So 4 ways I can express. But what we are giving as per the book, we are concentrating the natural phenomena. Normally, a system is absorbing energy from the radiation. That is the what we can say, atmospheric radiations. So after absorption of energy, work is done by the system. That's why we are taking this is the common formula for first law. Okay. Now, let me come for the limitations. What are the limitations? One is feasibility. The question is whether a reaction will take place or not. The question arises. The thermodynamic fails. Direction. At what direction a process will take place? No idea. At what condition it takes place? No idea. So, the interesting information here is, kindly follow, coming for the feasibility, suppose I want to conduct one reaction. What reaction? Carbon plus oxygen. Suppose I am mixing simply. This is solid form, graphite, this is gas. My question is whether I will get carbon dioxide. By simple mixing? No. So thermodynamic, first law of thermodynamics gives no information. Whether the reaction will take place or not, it is not giving any information. It is not giving any information. Feasibility, whether it will take place or not. No information. So it is the drawback, feasibility. Number 2, direction. At what direction the process will take place? It will go to forward reaction or backward reaction. At what condition? That is the thermodynamics, first law of thermodynamics fails. The third one, condition. At what condition this is taking place? By heating or by cooling? So are increasing pressure or decreasing pressure? Or increasing volume or decreasing volume? At what condition the process will take place? No idea. First law fails to predict the feasibility of a process, predict to fail the direction of the process, it will fail, the condition at which the process will take place. Kindly follow. Now let me concentrate on Hess law. This is the most important, because in all the calculations, Hess law we are going to use to calculate the energy calculations. Entropy, enthalpy, all calculation we are going to use Hess law. What is Hess law? The enthalpy change of a reaction, enthalpy change delta H. Reaction either at constant pressure, that is delta H, or at constant volume delta U. Kindly follow. Constant pressure, enthalpy change delta H. Constant volume, the enthalpy change delta U is the same whether the reaction takes place in a single step or in multi steps. Kindly follow. So if this process is taking place in one step or more number of steps, provided the initial and final steps of the reaction are same. Let me repeat again. This is Hess law. You have to memorize this Hess law, because they can give you this statement and they say what is the law called. The enthalpy change of a reaction either at constant pressure delta H or at constant volume delta U is same whether the reaction takes place in a single step or multi steps, provided the initial and final steps of the reactions are same. So let me explain with a suitable example so you can easily understand this one. Let me take the same example of formation of carbon dioxide. So now I am doing only one step. Kindly follow. First step I am taking now. The graphite carbon 1 mole, oxygen gas 1 mole. I am heating at a higher temperature, so carbon dioxide gas is formed. So during the heating, it is an exothermic, delta H produce minus 394 kilojoule. So I can able, this is, we will say heat of combustion. We will be studying later. So I am directly, I can measure this value, delta H value minus 394 kilojoule. So this is one. The same equation I am going to do in two steps. The second one, I can now, the A, step A, carbon graphite plus half O2 gas. That is only oxygen, half O2 gas. The again action of it gives produce only carbon monoxide gas. So what is the energy released? Minus 110.5 kilojoules, delta H1 I will call it as. Then I will take the same CO gas, again I will treat with half O2 gas and a heat at a particular conditions. So I am getting carbon dioxide. The delta energy release is an exothermic energy release delta H2 minus 283.35. Simply add these two values, that is delta H minus 394 equal to delta H1 plus delta H2. So if you add these two values, the value equal to minus 394 kilojoule. This is the Hess law. Kindly follow now. Very, very easy. So any reaction takes place in a single step or multi steps. Whether it is taking place in a single step or multi steps, finally the total energy will be same. Whether it is delta H or delta U, energy will be same. So that's why this Hess law we have applied under the lattice energy when I was studying chemical bonding under the ionic bond. Okay. Now kindly follow enthalpy change of reactions. So a number of reactions are there under this is called a separate chapter in BHD level, thermochemistry. They will call it as thermochemistry. Thermochemistry in BHD level they will study. Thermo means heat, chemistry, heat chemistry. The first one, enthalpy change of formation. So whenever a compound is formed, that is the whatever change, that is enthalpy change. Enthalpy change of solution. Whenever you add a solute to a solvent, the heat will be released or absorbed. Enthalpy change of dilution. You have already a particular concentration. If you add water, there will be change in energy. Enthalpy change of fusion. Take a solid and if you melt it, will get a liquid. So that is enthalpy change of fusion. Enthalpy change of vaporization. Some solid without melting into liquid gets vaporized directly. So that is, you will call it, some solid, when it is converted into liquid will be converted into vapor. This is enthalpy change of vaporization. Enthalpy change of sublimation. Some solid like iodine, if you keep in a jar and close, after some time the solid becomes gaseous without converting in liquid. That is enthalpy change of sublimation. The enthalpy change of combustion, just now we have discussed, that is carbon plus oxygen give carbon dioxide. Combustion. Enthalpy change of neutralization. So 1 mole of acid, 1 mole of base completely neutralized. So whatever energy released that is or formed, we will call it as enthalpy change of neutralization. So each one I will go individually, kindly follow. The CBHC level, it is all these energy changes are there. But in Samachir in Tamil Nadu, only they are giving importance for two. One is heat of combustion, another is heat of neutralization. They have given importance. So let me concentrate on enthalpy change of formation. Enthalpy change of formation of a compound is defined as the enthalpy change, which accompanies the formation of 1 mole of compound from its elements in their naturally occurring physical state. So elements present should be in the naturally occurring physical state. From that we have to form a compound. So whatever energy released or absorbed, that we will call it as enthalpy change of formation. Kindly follow. I am giving two different examples. The first case, kindly follow. I am giving the endothermic reaction. 2 moles of graphite reacts with 2 moles of hydrogen to produce 1 mole of ethylene. Ethylene, this is ethylene, C2H4. So here heat is absorbed is plus endothermic plus 52 kilojoule. Normally heat of formation will be negative, exothermic. So this is an exceptional case, kindly follow. So let me come for the next one. If I take now 1 mole of graphite, 2 moles of hydrogen on combustion, on reaction, heating. So I am getting now 1 mole of methane. So what is the energy? It is the heat of formation of methane, exothermic, minus 73 kilojoule. Kindly follow. So first case, the compound is formed, but endothermic. So that means we need energy. Second case, methane, it's an exothermic, heat is released from the system. Okay. Now, further information regarding the enthalpy change of formation. Enthalpy change of pure elements, please follow, pure elements means at natural state at NTP. What is pure element NTP? Element means we have known already. It may be atomic element or molecular element. Everything I have discussed. So you need not confuse here. So pure elements in their naturally occurring physical state as taken as 0. So change in enthalpy of pure elements O2 0, H2 let me say 0. These are all molecular element or neon 0. So all these chlorine 0. So all elements, atomic or molecular elements, the enthalpy change of these elements at NTP is 0. It is we have to consider. Then enthalpy change of formation of a compound at atmospheric pressure at 290 degree Kelvin. What is 298? 25 degrees centigrade. This is that is common universally accepted temperature. All reactions are available in the literature only at 25 degree. If you add 273 to this, it will be converted into 298 Kelvin. So we are changing degrees centigrade to Kelvin, simply add 273. That's all. If it is 0 degree means 273 Kelvin. So the enthalpy change of formation of a compound at atmospheric pressure, 1 atmosphere, and at 25 degrees centigrade or 298 Kelvin is called standard enthalpy change of formation denoted by delta H of dot 0. Delta H F heat of formation, F for formation, this dot at standard state indicates standard. Please follow. Let me continue now. Generally, a compound which have large negative enthalpy, please follow. This is very, very important. Question can be asked. Generally, a compound during the formation which has large negative enthalpy change of formation, it is more stable. So, more negative delta H, more will be the stability. In general, the enthalpy change of a reaction, that is delta H, is given by the total enthalpy change of all the moles of products minus total number of moles of all the reactants. That will give the idea about the total enthalpy change. Okay. Now, let me go for the second one, enthalpy change of solution. Enthalpy change of solution. Solution means we know already. I have discussed in the basic unit 1. There will be a solute, there will be a solvent. What is solute, what is solvent, we have discussed. Whatever concentration is high concentration solvent, low concentration solute. So we can mix water and the alcohol, we can form a solution. So depending upon the concentration, we can call it as aqueous solution or alcoholic solution. Kindly follow. The enthalpy change of solution is defined as enthalpy change 1 when 1 mole of solute is dissolved in definite quantity, say n moles of solvent, to get a solution of specified concentration. So if you want to prepare a particular concentration, so I will always take 1 mole of solute. What is 1 mole? The molecular weight of the solute. 1 mole means correspondingly weight by molecular weight. What is mole? I already informed you. Molar mass by molecular weight. Molecular mass or molecular mass. Molar mass by, what is molar mass? If it is an atomic element, atomic mass, molecular element, molecular mass. So if molecular mass above and below are identical, so it is called mole. So for example, if we take urea, so urea is 60 grams molecular weight. So if I take 60 grams, so 60 by 60 nothing but 1, so mole is 1 mole. Kindly follow. That is the 1 mole. So 1 mole of 60 grams I will dissolve in the corresponding 1 liter of solution. We will call it as 1 mole. Kindly follow. That is particular way I can define the concentration. So 1 mole of solute is dissolved in a definite quantities of, say, n moles of solvent. In this case, 1 liter means 1000 ml of. So 1000 ml I will, in terms of more solvent, I can also give n. For example, 1000 ml of water equivalent to the water 1000 gram divided by 18. This will give the corresponding mole. Kindly follow. Water also will be expressed in terms of mole. So here, let me take example. Silver nitrate I will take now. 1 mole of silver nitrate, and I am dissolving in 100 moles of water. 1 mole of silver nitrate I am dissolving 100 moles of water. So I am getting a solution. So simply I write AgNO3 dot 100 H2O. It is a solution now. Kindly follow. It is a solution. Kindly follow. 1 mole means 18 grams. 1 mole means 18 grams of water. 100 mole means 1800 ml. I am dissolving silver nitrate. Kindly follow. Okay. Now, the third one, enthalpy change of dilution. Please follow. Dilution meaning is already we have a particular concentration. Suppose I am in 10 N concentration or 5 N concentration. I want to dilute to 0.1 because whenever to give to students in the laboratory, normally we will give 0.1 or 0.05 we will give N because we don't want waste chemicals to save the economy of the country. So, the enthalpy change of dilution is defined as enthalpy change that occurs when a solution containing 1 mole of solute in a particular moles of solvent is diluted from one concentration to another concentration. In the previous case, I told you I have taken 100 moles of water, 1 mole of silver nitrate dissolved in 100 moles of water. It is having a particular concentration. Now to that, I am now further adding 400 moles of water. So what will happen now? The concentration further diluted. What way? Silver nitrate 1 mole, 500 moles of water. Please follow. So this is measured as 1.21 kilojoule. Endothermic, it is heat is absorbed. So endothermic. Okay. Next. Fourth example, enthalpy change of fusion. What is fusion? Solid to liquid. That is fusion. Enthalpy change of fusion is defined as the quantity of heat required to change 1 mole of solid completely into liquid at its melting point. Enthalpy change of fusion is defined as the quantity of heat required, delta H, required to change 1 mole of solid completely into liquid at its melting point. Example, solid ice, H2O, when you melt into liquid water, so how much energy you need, how much heat supply you have to supply? That is 6.02 kilojoule required. Memorize this, question can be asked. Regarding water, all the information they will be asked. We know boiling point of water is 100. The freezing point of water is 0 degree. Like that, this is the, what we can call it a change of fusion, ice. So how much energy required? 6.02 kilojoule is required. Okay, the next one, 5. Enthalpy change of vaporization. That means the liquid gets vaporized. Enthalpy change of vaporization is defined as the quantity of heat required to change 1 mole of liquid into its vapor at its boiling point. Let me repeat. Enthalpy change of vaporization, delta H, as the quantity of heat required to change 1 mole of liquid into its vapor at its boiling point. Example, water, liquid water. So I am converting into water vapor. So again I need water I have to boil, then only it will convert into vapor. So I have to supply energy, endothermic. How much energy? So these are you have to memorize. That is 40.50 kilojoules. So 100 degree centigrade is the temperature at which water vapor will be there. Boiling point of water. Kindly follow. So how much energy is supplied? 40.50 kilojoule is supplied. Now, enthalpy change of sublimation. Kindly follow. Enthalpy change of sublimation. What is meant by sublimation? Let me define sublimation. Sublimation is the process by which any volatile solid, please listen my dear students, I am defining a sublimation. Sublimation is a process by which any volatile solid, organic or inorganic, on placing in a container can be converted into vapor without melting into liquid. And without melting into liquid. This is called sublimation. Okay, now let me come back. Enthalpy change of sublimation, delta H during sublimation, Here, my dear students, always I am discussing only delta H but not delta U. You can ask. Why, sir? Why you are not asking? Because all the reactions are conducted in a open system. All the reactions are conducted in a open system. Open system means one atmosphere. Only in the atmosphere at NTP. So only in the one atmosphere means kindly follow the enthalpy change in Earth is the nothing but energy change, not delta U. Kindly follow. Delta U you can speak only in a closed container. Kindly follow. Okay. Now, enthalpy change of sublimation is defined as the amount of heat required to change 1 mole of solid into vapor completely without melting into liquid at constant temperature. Example, iodine solid, you take a jar, kindly follow, you take a jar and close it with a vessel, you close it with a cover. Inside you just put some iodine. So after some time, so what you will get now, there is no iodine at the bottom. So entire you will have the vapors. Full of vapors will be there. This is iodine stage 1. This is iodine stage 2. This process is called sublimation. So how much energy it is involved? 62.3 kilojoule is involved. It is measured. Kindly follow. So this also you can memorize. Sometime question can be asked. Next one. Enthalpy change of combustion. Please concentrate in this. Specifically, Samachya students of Tamil Nadu, because they are giving only this. And also the CBSE and other state units of India. My dear students, enthalpy change of combustion. Enthalpy change of combustion is defined as enthalpy change which accompanies the complete combustion of 1 mole of substance in presence of excess of oxygen. So substance will be 1 mole, but oxygen may be any number. Oxygen may be any number of moles, excess. So how much energy released or coming? So generally heat of combustion will be always exothermic. In this case, carbon graphite plus oxygen gives carbon dioxide gas, delta H minus 394 kilojoule. Kindly follow. All combustion reactions are exothermic in nature. These reactions are used in industry, rocket and domestic purposes. Please follow. Suppose I will give some more example. Kindly follow. Suppose I want to burn this methane. So what is the final product will be? Carbon dioxide and water. Kindly follow. So now I have to balance this equation. 4 hydrogen, so I will put 4 here. 4 hydrogen is balanced. So 4 oxygen plus 2, 6. So I will put 3. So what will happen now? During combustion of methane, I am using 3 moles of oxygen and 1 mole of methane to undergoes combustion to produce carbon dioxide and water. So this is the heat of combustion of methane. So we can delta H value I cannot remember. So we can refer the literature and we can find out. The idea I want to give is any organic compound will undergo combustion to produce finally carbon dioxide and water. That information I want to give. Okay. So now let me come for the vessel that is used for the enthalpy change of combustion. Kindly follow. Before coming this, kindly see here, there is a wooden vessel. So I will come the theory, you can just see. I will read the theory, I will come back, then you can understand easily. Enthalpy of combustion. In a typical bomb calorimeter experiment, we are going to measure the energy of change of combustion only with the help of bomb calorimeter. A weighed sample of benzoic acid, W2 gram, is placed in the bomb. What is bomb? Kindly follow. See here. This is the bomb. This is the bomb. Vessel, that is the bomb. We are placing inside the bomb. Kindly follow. placed in the bomb, then which is filled with the excess oxygen and sealed. That bomb is sealed. Now it is then placed in a vessel. Kindly follow now. What is vessel? So this is a bomb placed in a beaker-like vessel containing water, a known quantity of water. And in the bomb there is a positive and negative. So with the help of electric current, now here there is a way to pass oxygen. Oxygen will go inside. Inside the substance will be burning. So combustion, heat of combustion will take place because of this ignition, electrical ignitions. So this is fully covered by the wood. Kindly follow now. Let me explain here. There is a thermometer inside the water. There is a wooden frame covering the just like the thermal, we can say the what we can call it as the thermally insulation like a beaker containing water, a known quantity of water. Inside a bomb calorimeter is placed. There is a platinum vessel inside. See here, platinum cup is there, and a known quantity of benzoic acid is taken in the vessel, platinum vessel. The entire thing we are calling it as a bomb. So that is water. So this is the wooden box or frame, and inside platinum wire. With the help of platinum wire, now we are sending the electric current to increase the temperature. Now there is an inner, the tube is there through which oxygen is coming inside. Kindly follow. When you require, we'll send. After that, we will close. And there is a stirrer is here to uniform the temperature to spread throughout the water. Because our aim is we want to measure the temperature with the help of a thermometer. So what is the actual experiment? A known quantity of benzoic acid, say for example, we will weigh accurately W2 grams and put inside the platinum cup. Then pass excess of oxygen, close it, and put this bomb in a beaker containing a known quantity of water. Then introduce the thermometer and the stirrer, mechanical automatic stirrer, and it is covered by a frame, wooden box. Now if you start the experiment by passing electric current, the reaction takes place, combustion takes place. So what will happen? Before that, we know the temperature, let it be T1. We measured. After the combustion, so energy will be released, or heat of combustion always, energy will be, that energy will be absorbed by water, the temperature of water will increase, so T2 will be there. So automatically what will happen now? We have to find out T2 minus T1, that will give the delta T, increase in temperature. Now the vessel will have a specific heat. It is having a characteristic specific heat. So we know the specific heat of the vessel. We know the increasing temperature. We know the quantity of water present inside. And also we know the substance, benzoic acid for example. Suppose you take 1 gram, 1 mole we are taking. And we know the molecular weight of benzoic acid. Kindly follow now. So please have this in mind. Now I will come for explanation, then it will be easy for you. Kindly follow. In the typical bomb calorimeter, I already shown, a weighed sample of benzoic acid, crystalline benzoic acid, W2 is placed in the bomb, inside the bomb, that means in a platinum cup, which is filled with the excess oxygen through the side tube, and it is sealed completely. Ignition is brought by electricity with the help of platinum wire, positive and negative, we will pass electric current. Now what will happen? The reaction, the combustion reaction takes place. The temperature is raised and it is noted as delta T. I told you how we are getting delta T. Now suppose if it is benzoic acid, we know delta HC, benzoic acid, delta HC, heat of combustion of benzoic acid. That's an equation, this you have to memorize. Into W2 by M2, that is this is nothing but mole, weight by molecular weight, mole, equal to WC into delta T. WC, it is the water equivalent. Kindly follow. And it is observed experimentally, standard value in the literature it is available. This value is minus 3227 kilojoule per mole is the standard value for benzoic acid. Please follow. This is already done by the previous scientist in olden days. It is fixed already, like boiling point of water 100, freezing point of water 0, like that. The heat of combustion of benzoic acid also at constant pressure, it was measured already, minus 3227 kilojoule per mole. This should be memorized. Please follow. So let me come back now. Suppose water equivalent of calorimeter is WC is known from the standard value of enthalpy of combustion of benzoic acid from this equation. Okay. Now, suppose now we know the value of equivalent, the water equivalent we can calculate. Kindly follow. Equivalent to the water equivalent of calorimeter that is inside, we can determine by using the above equation. What equation we can determine? Kindly follow. So this value, it is known theoretically, literature wise. We are taking a known quantity, benzoic acid. We know molecular weight of benzoic acid. We know the increasing temperature. What we can calculate? WC, water equivalent of calorimeter, we can determine. Because it will differ from vessel to vessel. So that we have to determine. Okay, now our aim is we have to use another substance, unknown substance, to determine the heat of combustion. So once after knowing the value of WHC, enthalpy of combustion of any substance can be determined adopting similar procedure, same procedure, using the same vessel, same condition in place of benzoic acid. In place of benzoic acid, I can take even benzene, I can take urea, like that, anything I can take. Kindly follow. So, what I have to do now? By using this experiment, the enthalpy change of combustion at constant volume is known, because the vessel is a known volume. So, delta H volume alone we are calculating it, because this is known already. The increasing in temperature we can calculate, so that delta H of the benzoic acid volume is we can calculate. But how can you convert into the pressure? Delta HC P, delta HC plus delta nRT. This we have already derived previously in the equations, and we know that under the first law, first part we have shown already. In the case of gases, delta N nRT. Total number of delta N is nothing but total number of moles of products minus total number of moles of reactants. So delta HC at constant pressure can be determined. Kindly follow. Now, my dear students, the enthalpy change, that is the way. So now we can very clear, any question is asked, so we can now apply this equation. Kindly follow. What equation you can apply? This equation you can apply. Kindly follow. This is the equation you have to apply. Minus 3227 into W to W, your unknown substance. Molecular weight, your unknown. Water equivalent, they will give. Change in temperature, they will give. So what you have to calculate? Delta HC you have to calculate. Kindly follow. This is the most important information. So enthalpy change of any unknown substance can be determined using a calorimeter. Next, enthalpy change of neutralization. This is another most important topic under the thermochemistry. What is neutralization? Whenever you say neutralization, means suppose I take 1 mole of HCl plus 1 mole of sodium hydroxide. So I will get now sodium chloride plus water. This is completely neutralized. Some cases, the neutralization may be incomplete. What way? Suppose, let me take example, sulfuric acid. Kindly follow. This is a dibasic acid. These already I have explained everything. First unit. Dibasic acid, 2 replaceable hydrogen. So when I treat with 1 mole of sodium hydroxide, what will happen now? Only 1 hydrogen will be substituted. So sodium hydrogen sulfate will come plus water. So now sodium hydrogen sulfate is acidic salt. It is not completely neutralized. Incompletely neutralized. So this is incomplete neutralization. So this is an acid incomplete neutralization. The same way, for base also I will give another example. Suppose you take barium hydroxide, that is diacidic base, replaceable OH. So when I treat with 1 mole of HCl, I can now get barium OH Cl, then plus water. So this is incompletely neutralized base, barium hydroxide. So acid can be also incompletely neutralized, base also can be incompletely neutralized. So let me come for complete neutralization means, that is the example sodium chloride. Please understand now. Enthalpy change of neutralization is defined as enthalpy change which accompanies the complete neutralization of 1 gram equivalent of an acid by 1 gram equivalent of a base. Gram equivalent, please follow. Gram equivalent under the concentration term I have already discussed. Let me recollect. That is normality will be used for that one. What is N? Number of gram equivalents divided by 1 liter of solution. Volume in 1 liter. That is normality. What is number of gram equivalents? That is mass M2 by equivalent mass, EQ2. That is the number of gram equivalent. This I have already discussed. Kindly follow. So it is found that enthalpy change of neutralization of a strong acid and a strong base is always constant and is equal to minus 57.32 kilojoule. Should be memorized. Kindly follow, my dear student. Should be memorized. Suppose you take sodium hydroxide and hydrochloric acid, sodium chloride completely neutralized, the value will be minus 57.32. Say for example, let me explain my example, you can understand now. Suppose I am now neutralizing this HCl, sodium hydroxide. So product will be sodium chloride plus water. Suppose what I am using now, instead of the sodium hydroxide, suppose I am using potassium hydroxide. Change the base. Again, product will be potassium chloride and water. So actually what is happening, always there is a reaction between H plus and OH minus taking place. This value will be always constant. Kindly follow. It is always constant for strong acid, strong base. Please follow. This value is independent of the nature of strong acid, nature of strong base. Whatever may be the strong acid, whatever may be the strong. What are the strong acid? HCl, nitric acid, sulfuric acid, phosphoric acid, strong acid. Strong base, alkali and alkaline earth metal hydroxides. Okay. Now, strong acid and strong base exist in the fully ionized form in aqueous solution as follows. Because they are strong electrolytes, there will be fully ionized form in aqueous in water. So sodium plus Cl minus will be available. So automatically sodium hydroxide in the form of sodium plus and the OH. H plus will be H and Cl minus. All will be in solution in the form of ion. But in the product side, what will happen now? This H plus and OH combining to form water. Water is a weak electrolyte, so it will not be ionized. So only sodium plus and sodium chloride is there. So I can write the equation nothing but H plus plus OH minus giving the H2O, because Cl cancel, NaO plus cancel. Kindly follow. So suppose if you are dissolving water, in that case I will add 2H2O, again same equation, same result I am getting. Thus, OH ion produced in water by acid molecule exists in the form of normally H3O plus. Water will take this H plus converted into corresponding conjugate the acid correspondingly. Okay, let me go for the next one. Under the enthalpy of neutralization, I want to give some more information. In the case of neutralization of weak acid by a strong base, so far we have discussed strong acid, strong base. Now I am coming for a weak acid or a weak base. In the case of neutralization of weak acid by a strong base or a weak base by a strong acid, two steps are involved. So there we have seen only one step, but here is only two steps are involved. What are the steps? Neutralization of a weak acid by a strong base. First one, a weak acid is neutralized by a strong base, H2O. So we are getting now correspondingly acetate ion and H3O plus we are getting in water, because water we are using as a. Now what will happen? Next one, sodium plus and OH minus. Kindly follow. So then this reaction, now there is H plus and OH minus reaction. So automatically two water molecules coming there. Actually H3 plus I am writing because that H plus from acetate ion coming and converting into H3O plus. So H3, so sodium hydroxide ionized sodium plus OH minus H3O plus. So now I am getting sodium plus. So H3O plus OH minus combining to produce 2 moles of water. Kindly follow now. Very, very interesting. So one is ionization of weak acid taking place. Number 2, neutralization of the acid also take place. There are 2 steps. The interesting information here is neutralization of a weak base by a strong acid. I am giving another, but that acid you have seen, that this is a base. What way it will neutralize? NH4 and OH minus will come out. So automatically water as such it is present. The first step, the ionization of weak base. Ionized in the form of NH plus OH minus. Now what will happen when you add HCl, H plus and HCl minus strong acid? So what will happen that OH minus H plus they combine with water 2 molecules. So only Cl minus inside. So since the enthalpy change of ionization of weak acid or weak base is always endothermic. Kindly follow. Ionization of a weak acid or weak base is always a positive value. The enthalpy change of this neutralization is always lower than the neutralization of strong base by a strong acid. So it will be less than minus 57.32 value, kilojoule value. Please follow, my dear student. This is very, very important. If it is a strong acid, strong base, the value will be equal to minus 57.32, always the constant. But if you use a weak base or if you use a weak acid, so there are 2 steps. One is ionization of weak acid or weak base, a positive value. The another is the neutralization is a negative value. So from the negative, positive value, if you subtract, the value will be less than minus 57. So always the neutralization of weak acid or weak base by strong acid, strong base will be always less than minus 57.32. Very, very important you must have. So with this idea, let me want to go for the second law of thermodynamics. Kindly follow. So if I want to go for second law of thermodynamics, I have to first introduce you entropy and entropy change. Entropy and entropy change I have to explain you. That is here delta S. Delta S delta S. Kindly follow. So, entropy and entropy change I have to explain. Then only you can understand the second law. What is entropy? Entropy is defined as the measure of the disorder of a system. What is meant by disorder of a system? System, you know, any object under investigation is called system. Suppose system is a solid. Let us assume sodium chloride, a solid system. Suppose if I melt sodium chloride, it becomes liquid. Kindly follow. Now the in sodium chloride, the ions are present there, strongly packed, and the distance between two ions is very, very, very close. But when you convert into liquid, now that order is getting increased. Disorder. This is called disorder. The close arrangement getting disorder. So the measurement of this disorder is called entropy, usually represented by S. Same way, if you change liquid into gas, again entropy increases. So let me conclude this way. When a solid converted into liquid, entropy increases. When liquid converted into gas, entropy increases. This is the disorder. Now, entropy of a system increases, what way? By absorption of heat. Only by absorption of heat, entropy of the system will increase. And decreases by evolution of heat. Please follow, this is the most important. This may be the statement that will come in the form of second law. In all naturally occurring process, the entropy of the universe increases. In all naturally occurring process, the entropy of universe increases. Next, in a reversible process, the entropy of the universe remain constant. Please remember. Let me come for entropy change. When a system undergoes a small change of state, reversibly, the change in entropy of a system is equal to the heat absorbed by the system divided by the absolute temperature. I can say ds equal to dq reversible by T. Kindly follow. This is the change in entropy change. This is for a micro. Suppose if it is a macro, I can use delta S equal to delta Q by T. I can give. This is for a macro I can give. Kindly follow. That is normally in mathematics it will come. So let me use delta. This is delta for a macro. And this also they will use D. It's indicating smaller one. Then another thing, change this dou. All are indicating the same way. The difference only, this is a micro scale, this is the macro scale change. Kindly follow. This is the medium. This you must know because this you will come across in all thermodynamic change. Okay. ds is the entropy change of the system, which is given by ds equal to S2 minus S1. S2 entropy change in the final state, S1 entropy change of the entropy of the initial state. So let us state now, state 1, S1, converted into state 2, state 1, this is S2. So initial state, this is the final state. This difference will give now ds. S2 minus S1. Kindly follow. Kindly follow. I am using now large one. Delta S can be used to determine spontaneity of a macro process. Just now informed you. A macro process. A planet, a rocket, aeroplane. It is going on. If you want to identify the change of the energy, in that case, delta S we can use. In an isolated system, for spontaneous process, spontaneous without any external agency, the change in entropy is positive. Please follow this, memorize this. In an isolated system means thermally insulated system. No energy, no mass will be transferred. Here, the entropy is always positive. But very interesting, for an open system, the problem started. For an open system, we have to consider the entropy change of the system and the surroundings to determine the total entropy change. Suppose I want to determine the entropy change of a system and the surroundings, the universe I want to change, determine. So this is the entropy change of the total universe. So if you want to this is the entropy change of the system, this is the entropy change of the surrounding. So system plus surrounding will give the delta S total. Kindly follow. Now, if the total change is positive, the process is feasible. If the entropy change is positive value, the process is feasible. Any process is feasible. Kindly follow. Now this is the answer coming from the drawback of the first law of thermodynamics. But thermodynamic law fails to explain which is whether feasible or not. Now second law gives answer, it is feasible. If the entropy change is positive, it is feasible. The next. But it is not convenient to measure entropy change of a system and the surroundings for an open system. Please follow. We have a no drawback. For a closed system, we can ready. For an open system, entropy change of a system and surroundings, which is not possible to measure. So what is the next step now? We have to go for another parameter, thermodynamic parameter, so that we have to determine the delta S. What is that? So before going that one, so under the entropy change, please note, my dear students, I am giving some 4 equations. Derivation, everything not required. For isothermal process, delta ST equal to isothermal process, delta ST equal to, in terms of volume, 2.03 nr log V2 by V1. Please remember in my first unit how to determine the log value of any value. I have given video. First video is how to determine log without the calculator or logbook. In the isothermal process, in terms of pressure, I can give again 2.03 nr log P1 by P2. Kindly follow. The isothermal means temperature constant. Isobaric means pressure constant. Pressure constant. So in the case of delta SP, 2.03 Cp, heat capacity, we are going to discuss. Heat capacity at constant pressure, log D2 by T2, Q1. And in the case of V, isochoric process, volume constant, 2.03 Cv log T2 by T1. In all the cases, we have to determine the log value. Please memorize this. Problem will be asked. Let me go for now the second law of thermodynamics. Dear students, I am giving the second law. All spontaneous processes are thermodynamically reversible. Irreversible. All spontaneous processes are thermodynamically irreversible. Raining, irreversible. Fall, that is waterfall coming from the mountain, irreversible. A process accompanied by increasing in entropy tends to be spontaneous. If entropy increases, that should be spontaneous. And Clausius statement, second law of thermodynamics, another statement, entropy of a system increases by absorption of heat and decreases by evaluation of heat. I have already discussed. This is Clausius statement for second law. Then, fifth one. Without use of an external agency, heat cannot by itself pass from colder to hotter body. Without use of external agency, heat cannot by itself pass from colder to hotter body. Number 6, second law of thermodynamics, sixth statement. Efficiency of a machine can never be 10%. Never be 100%. Efficiency of a machine can never be 10%. This is you will be given proper explanation in physics. Okay. Now, it is slight changes. The fourth statement is now coming here. Blank statement. It is impossible to construct a machine which will work in a complete cycle and convert heat into work without producing any change in the surrounding. According to Planck's statement, that is second law of thermodynamics, it is impossible to construct a machine which will work in a complete cycle and convert heat into work without producing any change in the surrounding. Please follow. These are the second law of thermodynamics. Now let me give some explanation for this second law to understand the statement given. All the spontaneous processes are irreversible. We are saying, statement is given, first statement. What is spontaneous process? Without any external agency, it is taking place. A specific example, one is giving a cup of hot tea. You take a cup of hot tea, and place it on the table. And before placing on the table, you just weigh its mass, weigh its temperature. Kindly follow. After 1 hour, if you see measure the mass and measure the temperature, you can observe there is change in mass, change in temperature. So what is happening? What happened? Because it is an open system, a cup of tea, open system, water vapor in the hot condition, water vapor is escaping from the cup to the atmosphere. So there is a loss, mass. And through conduction, convection, radiation, we have studied physics, radiation, the heat also it is transferred. So what is this process taking place automatically? We are not doing. I am not cooling by adding water or with the help of a fan or anything. It is doing automatically. It is an example of spontaneous. The second example, a drop of ink placed in a beaker. In a beaker, kindly follow. This is the beaker. I am introducing a drop of ink here. Inside a beaker. There is full of water is there. Kindly follow. Water is there. I am adding a drop. After some time, what will happen now? The entire vessel, it is spreading. There is drop will spread the entire vessel. How this is taking place? Without any external agency, spontaneous. Second example. Now, third example. Two gases having identical pressure connected by a stopcock. Let me give an example. Suppose I will take a container. This is one. Another container. Kindly follow. So, two gases, gas 1, gas 2. But the pressure is same. P1, this is also P1. So normally, if pressure is same, it should not move. But suppose if I connect by a connector, the two vessel nozzle, if I connected through a connector, so what will happen now? Gas 1 and gas 2 mix automatically without any external agency. Two gases having identical pressure connected by a stopcock is a specific example of the spontaneous process, because they will mix together. The gas 1 and 2 will mix automatically. The last example, mixing of equal volumes of same concentration of HCl and sodium hydroxide. I am taking equal volume 10 ml of 0.1 N solution plus 10 ml of that is sodium hydroxide 0.1 N solution. I am mixing in a conical flask. Kindly follow. I am taking 10 ml HCl 0.1, again taking sodium hydroxide 0.1, again everything. So when I add 2, immediately you do not heat, you do not anything, you should not do anything. Automatically it completely neutralizes, converting in the form of sodium chloride and water. Because it is a spontaneous. Kindly follow. So I have given a number of examples for Spontaneous process. Any process that is taking place without any external agency is called spontaneous. So next, let me go for the free energy and the free energy change. Why it is necessary? Why it is necessary? Because I told you, in the case of open system, it is not possible to determine entropy change for system and surroundings. But the free energy change can be measured easily in other way. That can be measured experimentally. So from that you can calculate entropy change. So let me discuss now. In order to determine spontaneity, that is whether taking place spontaneous or not, the entropy change should be considered in terms of other state functions which can be determined more conveniently. Two such state functions are work function or Helmholtz free energy, that is A, you will be studying in physics, and the Gibbs free energy function or Gibbs free energy G. So this is important only in chemistry, but A is important in physics. So we are worrying about only G, that is free energy and the change in free energy. Kindly follow. To explain spontaneity, whether the reaction takes place or not, explain spontaneity in change, Gibbs proposed a state function capital G, which is given by a definition G equal to H minus Ts. H enthalpy at constant pressure, T temperature, S entropy. Kindly follow. Now for entropy change for two different states, I can write this equation as delta H minus T delta H. This is the very, very important equation. Kindly follow. If you are able to measure delta G, if you are able to measure delta H, if you know the temperature, delta H can be calculated for even open system. That is why we are interested here. Let us now state spontaneity by delta G based on delta H, T and delta S. So this is the most important, my dear students. This equation is most important. Kindly memorize. Problem will be asked. And also from this, now we are going to discuss the important information. If delta G of the system equal to negative, the process is spontaneous. Very easy. Whether the first law, it is all the three defects, drawbacks is now answered by now. Whether a process is spontaneous or not, we can see easily. If delta G negative, spontaneous. Delta is positive, non-spontaneous. Then delta G is positive, the process is non-spontaneous. Negative, spontaneous. If delta G of a system equal to 0, the process is in equilibrium. Very, 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 very important information. The above facts can be explained as follows. Kindly follow. I am giving in the form of table. So delta H value, T delta S and delta G. I am going to give 4 different statements. Please follow, my dear students, carefully. Minimum 1 questions are asked from every year from this table. Minimum 1 question is asked from this table. First, let me take this equation. This is the parent equation. Delta G equal to delta H minus delta L. First, let us take now number 1, exothermic process. For exothermic, delta S negative and delta S positive means entropy is greater. Disorder is there. If positive, what will be the corresponding delta G value? Kindly follow. Delta H negative into minus, I can draw, what is D delta S? It is plus. So minus into plus, minus. So minus and minus, we will say it is minus. Minus plus minus, minus. So it is spontaneous. That means if delta H equal to minus and delta S equal to plus, that process will be spontaneous. The second condition, for endothermic reaction, second, this is one, That is second. Endothermic, same delta S entropy is positive. Apply here. Delta G we are going to calculate. What is delta G? We are going to calculate. That is delta H plus. Then plus within bracket minus, kindly follow, T delta S. T delta S, T it is there. Delta S is again positive. So kindly follow. So the delta H equal to positive, whereas T delta H equal to positive. So what will happen now automatically? The minus, the corresponding, the resulting delta G will be positive. Sorry, the delta G will be negative. Under what condition it will be negative? That is high temperature. Suppose if temperature is very high, because minus T delta we are using, minus D delta. If temperature T is higher value, so total multiplied by T into delta H will be higher, so negative will be higher, so minus D delta is greater than, minus T delta S greater than delta H, so automatically it will be negative. Kindly follow. So spontaneous. Third condition. Now again third will be, kindly follow, this is for exothermic. Now delta S is negative. Now apply here. Delta H negative minus, now within bracket I will give now minus, then minus, kindly follow, T delta S. T delta S means T, this is also minus. Kindly follow, minus into minus, plus. So minus, minus, plus. So automatically, again spontaneous, in which condition? If delta H value is greater, if delta H value greater than T delta H, because delta is negative, and this is a exothermic, and this value greater than D delta S value, again negative value is spontaneous. That means this is at a low temperature. So here spontaneous at high temperature, here spontaneous at low temperature. The fourth condition, last condition is, kindly follow, the for endothermic reaction, delta H positive minus, again I am saying minus T delta S minus. So this minus plus, kindly follow, minus into plus, kindly follow this one, this is plus, this is minus, so this minus and this minus becoming plus, so totally it is plus, so non-spontaneous. So the process will not take place, non-spontaneous. Kindly follow. So this is the way we have to explain. So let me come from the conclusion. Third law of thermodynamics. The entropy of a perfect crystalline substance is zero at absolute zero. At absolute zero. So entropy of a crystalline substance equal to zero. When? At absolute zero. At absolute zero. The historical development of third law of thermodynamics may be traced to the search for an explanation for the experiment observation that delta G and delta H are almost the same value for many reactions. Even at high temperature, delta G equal to delta H. My dear students, only the statement you have to memorize, and that will be enough. Okay, thank you, my dear students. I have come to the conclusions. Dear students, while you are seeing my video in YouTube, please like, share on my videos and press the subscribe button. Ask your friends also to subscribe so that my video will reach you, your phone, your home. For students who are ready to prepare for the NEET entrance coaching, +1, +2, and +2 completed students, here is a good news for you. We have, that is the Vetri Coaching Center working in Pondicherry, has a site, vetri.us. Our online site is vetri.us. If you go to your home page, you can see our achievement for 20 years. What are the achievements? Every year for the last 20 years, 15 to 20 students we are sending to JIPMER, and 150 to 200 students we are sending other medical colleges in Pondicherry. Kindly follow. And second important thing is, in the Vetri.us, we have given 200 lessons, 200 chapter lessons we have given, 50 in each subject. 50 in each subject, so 200 lessons. Recorded lessons in the form of notes, just what you have seen in my YouTube. Same way you can see there. You can stop, take notes, you can release like that. But this cannot be possible for other online coaching because they are only speaking, there is no notes at all. The second important feature we have 200 tests we have. 200 tests. And each unit have 2 tests. Each unit have 2 tests. For example, the thermodynamic means, in thermodynamic 45 plus 45, 2 tests will be given. But all the questions taken for thermodynamics means these questions are taken from, for the last 20 years of question papers from IIT, AIMS, AIPMT, the EAMCET Andhra, AFMC, etc. So what is the interesting information I want to give? When comparing the last 5 years, 6 years question papers of NEET question paper, we observed nearly 75 to 80 questions, same question repeated from our question bank. That means 300 marks you are getting through us, through Vetri.us. If you get 300 through your merit, 600 plus you will be the All India rank. Easily you will get your doctor seat. Another most important information I want to give regarding my Vetri.us, review. That is, when you attend the test, finally you will get the marks automatically. Our software will do the calculation. For correct question 4 marks, wrong answer -1. You will get, for example, one test 45 questions, 45 into 4 means you will get totally 180. So out of 180, suppose you are getting 160. So 20 marks you are losing. Suppose you want to know what are the 20 marks where you have left losing. You want to know, you can identify by the review, which is not available anywhere in online in India. Any online in India, you are not having this facility. So if you click the review, the question number 1 will open. And there is question. First question will be there, option A will be there, option B, option C, option D. And your answer will be in blue color. Correct answer will be in yellow color. And below there is a video solution. Video solution will be there. That will run minimum 10 to 15 minutes. So answer will not be in written matter. Please remember, my dear student, all other onlines, if you view the solution, they are giving 2 lines or 3 lines of running matter. That's all. Simply answer. But we are giving with answers. Professors will be answering with slides, explanation, definition, all information they are giving for each question. So nearly 10,000 to 12,000 video record answers will be available. This is not there anywhere in India. So we are far, far superior than others in this case. And if at all these superiority, and we are very, very cheaper. We are giving only 10,000 rupees we are charging. 10,000 rupees per year for all the 4 subjects. Any good student, if you follow 1 year strictly our view the Vetri.us, and if you attend all 200 tests, minimum 600 plus we will give guarantee. So then you can ask, how we have to pay? So you have to pay 10,000 rupees in the name of Santi, Indian Bank account number 7127194771, IFSC code, IDIB 000P134. And any information of any other inquiry, contact me 98941 Thank you, my dear students. I see you the next unit. Thank you.